people are seeing through holes in woke ideology, critical race theory. I'm so glad that people are finally seeing it for what it is. You know, I've been talking about the education system for years now. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out. Also, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I put out new stuff. Check out my link tree that's in the description. That has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things that I can't talk about here, and also have a link to my merch store where I have Let's Go Brandon t-shirts, I Will Not Comply t-shirts, all types of t-shirts, and it's all done here in-house. So each purchase that you make, it goes to fund what we're doing here. All right, let's talk about the news. Woke Distance, an expert in postmodernism and critical race theory, and a visiting fellow at the Center for Renewing America, believes that woke ideology will destroy itself because it is not grounded in truth, but rather seeks power. The man who posts explanatory threads on social media under the pseudonym Woke Distance sat down for an interview with Jan Jekielek, host of Epoch TV's American Thought Leader program, on March 5th. Distance said a sign that people are starting to see the flaws in woke ideology is that mainstream comedians are making jokes about their ideas. And that's true. When you satirize and make memes and make fun of and point out the idiocracy, I mean, that's a better way of showing it than actually trying to sit. I found that it's a better way of showing it than actually having to sit down and try to explain this stuff to people. But, quote, humor exposes it, makes fun of it. The reason why the left made fun of Bush so much is because the best way to take the social power out of something is to mock it, he said, referring to former President George W. Bush. Quote, the justice branding and packaging of, quote, we just want to be tolerant and kind and caring, that held for a long time, Distance said. But now that people are getting to have a look at what's inside the social justice box and what they actually believe, people are beginning to see it for what it is. Distance said that inside the social justice box, there is a cynical attempt to guilt people into giving revolutionists and critical theorists power and clout, and that they now realize that they were browbeaten and morally scolded and shamed into giving people the benefit of the doubt. He cited comedian Bill Maher questioning the sanity of woke ideas such as defunding the police, gender surgery for 13-year-olds, and the idea that men can become pregnant. Distance was referring to the fact that Maher has repeatedly called out the elite left for their restrictions and regulations, saying they are providing a lot of material for his jokes. Quote, people sometimes say to me, you didn't used to make fun of the left as much. Yeah, because they didn't give me so much to work with, Maher said during the January 2022 episode of his show Real Time with Bill Maher. Quote, members of Congress tweeting things like cancel rent, cancel mortgage, and no more policing or incarceration, declaring that capitalism is slavery, canceling Lincoln and Dr. Seuss, teaching children they're oppressors and math is racist, making Mr. Potato Head gender neutral, and now an emoji for pregnant men, Maher said. Real, I'm not making it up. And that's true. All those things are true. And if we make fun of those things, it really shows people the idiocracy of what it is. But Maher isn't the only comedian calling attention to the radical left's new idea. Joe Rogan, a comedian and podcaster who has been attacked by the left for hosting guests who disagree with mainstream narratives, has said that woke culture will eventually completely cancel white men. And that's ultimately what they're trying to do. But of course, the white men, that's canceling normal, regular white men. It's not, the elites are still going to have their power. That's what they're not telling you. But quote, that's the problem. It keeps going. It keeps going further and further and further down the line. And if you get to the point where you capitulate, where you agree with all these demands, it will eventually get to straight white men are not allowed to talk, Rogan said in May 2021 episode of his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. Distance said Republicans are now more in line with average people, Even though the left calls conservatives crazy and transphobic, people are starting to see through the irrationality of the left's ideology, he said, from children being allowed to change their gender to defunding the police in urban areas. Quote, that's not a crazy position. That's the position that everyone in America agreed on until 3 minutes ago. And a very small group of radical lefties have brought an entire different concept of the world and are trying to make trying to make that the center. And they're trying to act as though all of this new stuff that they invented last week is normal, correct, true, good, right, proper, Distance said. It's absurd, and they can't see the absurdities. And I don't think they'll ever see the absurdities. Because when you confront them with this, they instantly start arguing with you. They don't want to have that conversation. They walk away. When you can't actually sit and have a discussion, when you can't have a discord without getting upset and yelling and walking away, then you already lost. But the left's concept of intersectionality is at the heart of woke ideology. Intersectionality links to ideas together. The first, that society is made up of many systems, such as the education system and economic system. And the second, that each person has multiple identities, such as man, gay, white, black, woman, and mother, added Distance. Quote, all of these systems oppress people according to these various identities. And so intersectionality is the idea that we're going to study the way these various identities intersect with power, Distance said. It's the theory that says, look, your role in society, your position in the social hierarchy is in part determined by limited by, controlled by these various entities. According to the left, there's a hierarchy of oppression and privilege, with heterosexual white males having the greatest privilege and a transgender black female being a person who faces some of the greatest levels of oppression in society. Quote, all of it has been built for the interest of and to benefit of straight white males, Distance said about how the ideology sees American society. Quote, it's something that white men invented for ourselves, and that is and it needs to be challenged because that system was invented by white males, and therefore the interests and the benefits of white males have been centered in that system, and therefore needs to be deconstructed, said Distance, explaining that intersectionality argument, because there is no absolute, objective, universal, eternal truths that can be stated. And that because there is no God eye view to get these absolute truths. You're a finite, limited, biased, self-interested person who's been warped by power. And that's absolutely asinine. How can you not be objective? How can you not have any external truths? Like, majority of people believe in some type of God. So on its foundation, is this thinking is wrong. And I don't understand how anyone can, like, if this thing is true, how can anyone even want to wake up in the morning and do anything? And that's exactly why they are pushing this agenda. This is exactly why they're pushing this intersectionality stuff, this identity politics, critical theory stuff. But Distance said, when white men speak Marxist, and those on the left are not asking whether or not what the white men are saying is true, what they're doing is focusing on who gets power, whose interests are served, and whose benefits, rather than whether or not the statements are true, said Distance. The truth of these questions is thrown away because they don't care about the truth. It expresses its expressions of power to control people, and that how they view everything. So you will always end up with this endless back and forth where people are arguing about, well, who benefits, said Distance. Distance said it's useful to turn this process around and ask critical theorists and Marxists to explain their definition of justice, who benefits from their work, and their motivations for pursuing Marxist ends. This dissolves everything it touches because it gets rid of truth and replaces it with analysis of interests, he said. Distance cited that many communist dictators who proclaimed to be on the side of justice, including Joseph Stalin in the former Soviet Union, Pol Pot in the uh, in the Khmer Rouge regime in Cambodia and Mao Zedong in the Cultural Revolution in China. Once they established their power, these dictators killed millions of working people. I mean, it's just fact. Distance said anyone who challenges critical theorists or the left will be branded as having privilege, wanting power, or suffering from white fragility. Quote, there's nothing I can say because no matter what I say, it does not get viewed for its content. It does not get viewed for its truth. It does not get viewed for its argument. The only question that they're asking is, does that agree with us? Distance said. He believes the left's woke culture will disintegrate because its proponents are already having to use force and coercion to make people listen to them. Quote, truth doesn't care, reality doesn't care about your ideology. Truth is unconcerned by whatever you think someone else's interests are. It persists, said Distance. Radical leftists have, quote, sacrificed the truth in order to get power so they can enact their own vision of justice, Distance said. Because said woke ideology is disconnected from reality and truth, it would meet with the same fate as oppressive communist regimes of the past. Quote, when the Soviet Union came down, it doesn't crumble because of bombs and guns, he said. It collapsed under the weight of its lies that we're propping it up, and nothing that's built on lies can survive or will last. And that's why this woke ideology is falling. The memes are working. Keep the memes up, and let's point out this idiocracy. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.